Trade wars aren't just about numbers, policies, or who imposes the biggest tariff. They're about people, families, small businesses trying to survive. The truth is that there is no real winner. We all pay the price. Let's pretend we're sitting down in a quiet cafe. No cameras, no stage. Just you and me talking like friends do when they've got too much on their mind and the world outside feels heavy. You lean forward and you ask me, what do you think about all these trade wars? Does it even help? I take a slow sip of my coffee, not because I don't have an answer, but because it's not the kind of question you rush. And I say this not as an economist, not as a politician, but as a human being who's watched people lose what they've spent their lives building. It's not black and white, and it's definitely not a game where someone wins and someone loses. It is so much messier than that. You see, we've turned everything into sides lately. Us versus them, win or lose, rich or poor. But life doesn't operate in binaries. Trade wars might be waged between countries, but their casualties aren't nations. They're people, ordinary people, small businesses, communities. When you hear trade war, it almost sounds exciting, like some high-stake chess game between global powers. But strip away the headlines and what you find underneath is pain. Quiet, relentless pain. The kind of pain that doesn't make the news. A local manufacturer losing contracts because tariff made their materials too expensive. A couple who finally opened their dream restaurant, only to close it right after because ingredients all of a sudden cost double. A small town family business with 3 generations behind it, shuttering not because of mismanagement, but because the rules changed overnight. Trade wars don't shout. They whisper behind closed doors when parents tell their kids, we might need to move. They linger in the eyes of someone folding the final box at a once thriving shop. There's a misconception that in every conflict, there's a hero and a villain. But the reality is that most of us are just people trying to live, trying to grow, trying to contribute. And that's what makes this whole thing so tragic. When nations fight, it's the people who fall. Growth, whether in business or in life, thrives on a bit of stability. You water the soil, you give it time, you let it breathe. But trade wars rip that soil apart. The ground shifts constantly. One day your supplier is reliable, the next they're under sanction. One week your product is affordable, then the next it's priced out of the market. Small business owners aren't just selling things. They're betting their future on decisions they hope will still make sense tomorrow. And when trade tensions escalate, they're left guessing, gambling. Even while larger corporations with deeper pockets and global reach weather the storm with more padding. It's not fair, and it never was. That's the heartbreak of it. The ones who suffer most aren't the ones with the power to start or stop these economic battles. It's the small cafes, the local farms, the mom-and-pop stores. People who believe that if they worked hard enough, they could build something that mattered. Here's something we forget in the noise. The world is connected in ways we don't even see. The coffee that you're drinking, it's grown in one country, roasted in another, shipped across oceans, and then served in your city. That phone in your pocket, it's an orchestra of international cooperation, each part coming from a different place, like instruments in a global symphony. We rely on each other, not just for goods and services, but for perspective, for innovation, for balance. When one nation stumbles, the others feel it. When one part of the supply chain breaks, we all pay the price. So what sense does it make to throw up walls? To punish rather than negotiate? To burn bridges that took decades to build? It's not about being soft, it's about being smart. Cooperation isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You know what hurts the most? Knowing there were other ways. There are always other ways. Ways that involve listening, not shouting. Collaboration, not coercion. Creativity, not conflict. Trade wars are a brute force tool. They're the economic equivalent of slamming a door instead of having a hard conversation. But growth, true growth, comes from nuance. It comes from asking deeper questions. What are we trying to protect? Who are we trying to help? And at what cost? Because if the goal is national strength, shouldn't that include the strength of the people? The workers? The small business owners? And the families? We can't call it a victory if our own people are the ones hurting most. And the difficult truth is the general public will always feel the blow first. Prices rise, job markets shrink, import costs pass on to consumers. And yet, most people don't even understand why their grocery bill suddenly jumped, or why their local store closed last month. Trade wars happen over their heads but hit them right in the wallet. It's like watching two titans fight while you're stuck in the middle, dodging debris. But how do we grow through this? How do we rise instead of harden? One of the great myths modern society loves to believe is that strength comes from isolation. That the more independent we are, economically, politically, even emotionally, the more powerful we become. But I think we all understand this, that every time we cut off connection in the name of protection, we lose something. We lose diversity of ideas. We lose innovation. We lose the rhythm of give and take that makes growth sustainable. Self-reliance is noble, yes, but self-reliance doesn't mean building walls. It means knowing your value while recognizing your place in the bigger picture. Imagine if your hand decided it didn't need the rest of your body. It would wither, even as it tried to prove a point. That's what nations do when they sever ties and punish others in the name of sovereignty. They forget that their strength is interwoven with others. We are designed to work together, not in uniformity, but in harmony. What drives trade wars, really? Ego, fear, pride disguised as strategy. Politicians don't often feel the personal impact of these decisions. Their meals still arrive warm. Their children still go to schools with air conditioning. But the general public, the waitress, the teacher, the small store owner, feels every ripple. There's a kind of pride that refuses to blink even when the house is burning. The mindset that says, we can't back down now or we'll look weak, even if backing down might save jobs, families, and futures. True leadership doesn't cling to pride. It bends with wisdom. It listens when it's easier to speak. And it serves not itself, but those it's meant to protect. Trade wars are born out of scarcity thinking, the belief that there's not enough to go around, so we must hoard, compete, and defend what's ours. But the world we live in has enough. The real challenge isn't scarcity of resources, it's scarcity of imagination, of cooperation, of courage to think differently. When we move from scarcity to abundance, I like to think that everything would change. Instead of saying, we need to make more, we begin asking, how can we create more together? To me, that's growth. That's the mindset that elevates communities, not just economies. It's the same shift that changes a relationship from survival to partnership. It's the same shift that turns nations from competitors into collaborators. And that brings us back to something that was mentioned at the start. We are one. Humanity is one. It's not me against the world. It's me in the world. And the sooner we understand that, the sooner we can grow. Not just financially, but spiritually. Because we're not just trading goods. We're trading trust. We're building something that lasts beyond transactions. A future where nations don't just defend their interests, they share their vision. Now, this doesn't mean we erase differences. It means we respect them. It means we stop asking, how can we win? And start asking, how can we grow together? It means we care about the coffee farmer as much as the stockbroker, the factory worker as much as the policymaker. It means we don't sacrifice people in the name of strategy. Maybe the most important thing we can learn from trade wars isn't about trade at all. Maybe it's about the kind of strength we want to build. Not the strength that flexes first and listens last. Not the strength that sacrifices people to protect pride, but the strength that bends when it needs to, speaks softly when the world is shouting, and protects the small when the stakes are high. That kind of strength doesn't make headlines, but it builds nations worth living in. And it starts with us, with you, with the way we choose to think, to act, to speak. Because in the end, the path to real growth isn't paved with tariffs or walls. It's built with empathy, humility, and a shared belief that we belong to each other. So the next time someone asks you what you think about trade wars, maybe don't give them a policy breakdown. Maybe just tell them the truth. It's complicated, but we believe there's a better way, one where nobody has to lose, for us all to win.